we're going to address to Dr. Amiri, just would appreciate, many people would appreciate, and that's coming in clearly through the messages, a little bit more guidance and direction in terms of working with our children. There are a lot of ways of framing the question, but essentially, if I may even partially frame the answer a little bit, we've heard the term validate, not necessarily tonight, but we've all heard the term validate. So what does it mean to validate someone else's feelings? And a lot of us can use some support and some guidance on understanding what does it mean to validate my child's feeling without agreeing that what they're feeling is an absolute truth, which would actually make it worse, which I think is something that Dr. Rosemarin touched on earlier. How can we help our children with their feelings, especially complicated by the fact that we're not really sure how to validate our own feelings?
In one sentence, I would highly recommend the book, How to Talk So Kids Listen and How to Listen So Kids Would Talk. I think it's a Bible about the communication with kids and with adults. It shows many different examples, so what I'm going to share with you is what we as therapists, we needed to learn. I needed to learn actually the transition from a rabbi to a therapist. I used to give a lot of advice, and my supervisor told me at the beginning that the rabbi is talking, not the therapist. You do not know how to validate. You're constantly giving advice, or you feel you need to agree, or you need to correct. So I'll give you an example. I give you a very, very exaggerated example. You can validate someone's feeling without agreeing with them. How? Imagine that somebody would come to us. This person, unfortunately, killed somebody else. And you listen to them. And he said, what's the story? He said, I had an important appointment. I was late. I was behind this red light. Somebody was in front of me. It became green. I was waiting for him. He didn't leave. I honked. He ignored me. And then when I screamed at him, he even showed me a finger. I got angry. I took my gun and I shot him. So I'm the therapist over there. I'm not the executor to kill him. What am I going to tell him? I would tell him, oh, I could understand that you really got very angry. You were late. You were upset. You felt ignored. You felt rejected. That's very, very angering. I understand. You got very angry. Listen that I'm not telling the person, Yeshekoyach for killing the person. Listen that I'm not telling you that please continue doing so. All I'm doing, I'm saying that I'm trying to understand the emotion that you have, and I validate that emotion. Our kids come to us with their emotions, with their stories from the school, from their friends, from everything. We feel that sometimes if we validate their anxiety, their emotions, their fears, their concerns, it's as if you're telling them that it's right to feel this way and continue feeling this way and also taking action upon it. No, they come and tell us that you're worried about something. You could say that, I understand, I hear. Wow, that must be very frightening to you. That was really hard. I could understand that. We have a fear of validation which could cause people to continue in the way that they want to go and they want to live their life. So kids need our validation most than anything else when they come with their emotions to us. Last but not least, I wanted to also mention this, that it's very important that we educate ourselves. I mentioned one book, I'm going to mention another book which I think is very important for anxiety, especially parents who ask about anxious kids. It could be nature or nurture. There could be genetic predisposition by some kids. We need to have the understanding and have a suitable way of chinuch for them. But there is a theory, famous theory for people who have been exposed to this, attachment theory, which John Bowlby, who happens to be the cousin of Rav Shlomo Wolbe, if I'm not mistaken, he came up with this theory that how parents provide a secure attachment or being available or interacting with their children could set them in life to be anxious, could be avoidant, or could be secure. So we can shape the future of our kids. A great book, if anybody would like to read, I would highly, highly recommend, is a book by Dr. Daniel Siegel called The Power of Showing Up. The Power of Showing Up. It shows how parental presence shapes who our kids are going to become and how their brains get wired. It explains attachment theory, and it shows how we can, as parents, not only address the anxiety, but help them. It talks about 4 S's: being safe, seen, soothed, and secure. These are very important concepts. Any parent cares to have kids who know how to handle their anxiety, that would be secure and happy. I would highly recommend you really getting the book and spending time reading it. The first one was how to talk so kids listen and how to listen so kids talk. It's also translated to Farsi too.
I want to thank our panelists. Those of you who asked questions that perhaps you felt were not addressed directly head on, the panelists tonight in their presentation did cover many of those questions, and we said we'd finish by 9:45, and it's 9:45. There'll be a minyan for Mariv, probably in the small base medrash right next door, and the books will be for sale. Thank you again to our 3 wonderful panelists. Thank you to everybody for coming, and have a wonderful evening.